In accordance with the new copyright regulations, this episode of Quoth the Raven is intended for ages 16 and up. While some of the content we will feature is kid-friendly, the context of the episode is to address adults and inform them of said content within the research as consumers in service of their youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is the possibility of adult language present on the episode as well, rated TV 16 and up. Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 29-year veteran writer, artist, and editor of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And it is Monday. That means it is time for comics reviews for the week. And let's go ahead and get straight to it. We will start with Beyond the Breach. Publisher's Aftershock Comics is $4.99. Writer is Ed Brisson. Artist is Damian Cosiero. And the color is by Patricio De Pecque. Genre is science fiction / supernatural horror. Released July 14th, 2021. What it's about. Vanessa is on a road trip in California after her mother has died from cancer and her boyfriend and sister have had an affair behind her back while she was acting as caregiver to her mother. All she wants is freedom from the mess her life has become. She didn't expect some bolt of lightning or energy to explode in front of her rental car. When she wakes up, she finds that explosion at least unleashed other dimensional monsters. Fleeing for her life, she sees a small boy trapped inside another vehicle, his parents seemingly already taken by the monsters. Vanessa manages to rescue the boy, and they flee to a nearby rest stop bathroom with an alien monster hunter until that's that little guy to the left of the cover there. Temporarily safe, the boy tells her his name is Dougie, and then they hear voices outside. Dougie's parents' voices and Vanessa's sister, Sarah. Vanessa realizes that it's some sort of trap because her sister is still back in her hometown in Canada and tries to warn Dougie, but it's too late, and the monster grabs him and eats him. End of issue. What I thought? Well, I felt there was way too much foul language used in the script and that the story could have been told without any of it, or very little of that language, and thusly would have been made for a wider audience rather than the mature reader's level it actually is, with all the cussing and other things going on in it that is more adult. Overall, the story is decent. Brisson isn't giving the audience much time to react or think about events or to sympathize with characters. Sure, Vanessa was wronged in the events leading up to the beginning of the story, but her reaction to it is over the top and excessive and does nothing for her. It doesn't make us sympathetic to her at all. She gets back at her sister and ex-boyfriend by using his credit card to purchase porn mag subscriptions sent to his place of employment on a charge card his parents pay for. Well, okay, number one, they could simply refute the charges and say that wasn't them who made those charges. And then they could sue her, because they're going to know it's from her. Pretty obvious. She pulled it. They can just sue her for the act on grounds of fraud and get her in all kinds of legal trouble. So, not smart. And two, it just makes her seem very childish. And, yes, okay, I get it. She got messed with. Okay, you messed back. But it's just very immature action. Seems to me if she really wanted to get back at them, all she had to do was tell his parents the truth and see how well they react. Most parents would be pretty damn disgusted if their son cheated on his girlfriend with his girlfriend's sister while the girlfriend is taking care of her dying mother, I would think. And they would probably cut the guy off from his credit card, maybe even cut him off entirely from the family, and tell him to grow up and end their affair and relationship with both women, because he certainly can't go back to the woman he cheated on. So, it just, I think that would be the more logical thing, but, it kind of threw me. But anyway, the overall, though, the book just seemed pretty mediocre to me as a story so far. It's recommended for mature readers. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. Let's look at some of the artwork. There's the car all smashed up with Dougie inside, and there's a couple of hunters that are trying to get to the bugs or trying to get into the car to get at the kid. And she's like, "Oh, of course, there's a kid trapped in a car. Why wouldn't there be?" So she gets a, a branch and starts swinging for the fences and starts knocking everything off the car. Gets into the car. Uh, she's checking the cell phones. They don't work because what has happened is they're supposedly either in another dimension or there's other dimensional space that's knocked out, so their phones don't have any signal, so they can't talk to anybody. And he doesn't want to leave the car without his parents, and it's like, hey, it's not going to happen. Basically, got to go now. And then this is while they're in the bathroom, and she thinks that everybody's left now, and then of course the monster says his name, and he thinks, oh, it's Dad. Okay, my daddy's here. Okay, and then it says her name, and she's like, huh? My sister? How? Wait a minute, that's impossible. Type thing. So he leaves out, and of course there's the monster, and it grabs him, and that's the end of him. Or at least that's as far as we know. That's the end of him. He might survive. Who knows? Maybe we should get him out of there at the beginning of next issue. Our next book is Canto 3, Lionhearted #1 for $3.99. Publishers IDW Publishing. Writers David M. Booher. The artist is Drew Zucker with colors by Vittorio Astone. The genre is fantasy, released July 14th, 2021. And what it's about? Well, Walter was a tiny clockwork knight who loved a clockwork girl. When her clock was damaged, he went on a quest to find her heart. What he found instead was his people's freedom. Now that freedom was threatened by the shrouded man who cursed their clocks and told them they would eventually stop working unless or until they returned to being slaves. So the little clockwork knight and his friends quested once more to find a means to stop the evil wizard. The second quest ended with Canto, the clockwork knight, making the ultimate sacrifice, but in so doing, he earned the power to defeat the shrouded man. Now he holds the means to free all of the unnamed world. He races to find a hidden settlement of his former enslavers and convince them to fight alongside him against the shrouded man. That is, if the shrouded man doesn't find them first. Basically, my thoughts are the team does continuing to do their winning ways as a tandem, and it's just a really fun and well-executed story. I will be very sorely disappointed, and that's putting it lightly, in the Eisner judges this year and next year if this series doesn't start earning some awards. Not just nominations, but awards. Recommended for ages 10 and up. Give 4.5 out of 5 stars. Let's take a look at the artwork. There's a kind of cloven humanoid ram type character here. And one of the evil people is trying to get him to give up his loyalty to the shrouded man. And so he dumps him from high above in the clouds to fall to his death. And one of Canto's friends is riding her feathered dragon that looks like Zoc from the Herculoids. And they grab him out of the air by his hand, and they drag him over the trees, as you can see. They're flying over the woods. Here's another. Now they're flying through the thing, and like I said, it just looks like Zoc from the Herculoids to me. I was like, this is kind of cool, but it just reminded me of Herculoids so much. Unfortunately, the character they caught out of the sky was injured, and he dies. So the woman gets back to Canto, who's trying to figure out what he's talking to and what he needs to do next to defeat the shrouded man. And she steps on something that makes people, makes them turn around and begin, get in defensive mode. And again, the artwork was very nice, and I enjoyed the whole first issue just fine. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, it'll keep going the way it has been. It is a top book overall. Our next book is Mouse Guard, The OWLHEN Giver, and Other Tales. $4.99. Publishers Archaea and Boom Studios. The creator is David Peterson. The genre is anthropomorphic fantasy, and not the anthropomorphic in the sense of the Japanese anthropomorphics, but the fact that all the characters are animals and they talk and are kind of human in their behaviors is what I mean by anthropomorphic in this case. Also released July 14th, 21. And what it's about is this is a one-shot book featuring 3 different short stories. The first is a story about a mouse who wants to go and do other things instead of taking care of his dying father, and his mother tells him the tale of a mouse who cared for an owl, who in turn, in the mouse's time of need near its death, took the time to be a caregiver for the mouse in spite of the mocking and disrespect the owl received for his actions by others. The second story is about the mouse named Piper who went and learned the different languages of the other animals so as to better communicate and understand them. And the third and final story is basically a retelling of Peter and the Wolf, with Peter being a mouse, by a different name, of course, and his friends being different kinds of animals than what's in the original Peter and the Wolf storyline, but they're still fighting a wolf. What I thought of the overall book is the first story hit me hard because I've been a caregiver for dying relatives over 35 years now, between my grandparents and my parents. So I could really relate to the story. I think Peterson does a very nice job with it. And truthfully, I just wish there would, hopefully, that someday there'll be somebody there for me when I need it. If I need it, someday. That's something I've always figured when my father leaves us. There's not going to be anybody there for me because here I am at middle age, I'm 49 and, I don't have any other real family per se anymore. So now I've got cousins and stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same thing as, people taking care of you type thing. So, having that story about the person who took care of one and reciprocated was very, very kind and well done. The second story is good, but it's not as good as the first one. And the third story is probably the least original and thus the weakest in terms of the concept and idea, but he makes it work and executes the artwork the best of the 3 stories with the final story. So, yeah, I think the other 2 stories are stronger in terms of the story content, but I think the art's the strongest with the Wolf story. Overall, it's a respectable above average comic, recommended for ages 10 and up. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Let's take a look at some of that artwork. This is from the Wolf story. An old wolf who's blind over one eye. You can kind of see the scratch over his eye. He's blind in that one eye type thing. And he explains the story that you don't cross over this area because that makes it wild country. And he had so he tells the story of this young mouse. And he had a companionship of a few friends. And he treasured them and cherishes his members, his patrol. And they went across the border together. And there was, a cricket or a grasshopper and an ant or a beetle and a moth that went with this mouse. And they told him not to go, but, they didn't listen. And, of course, he's out patrolling. And they don't find anything. I mean, they smell some things and see some things that are different, but they don't really see the threat. And they get snuck up on by the wolf, who takes them pretty darn rough, basically. Beautiful artwork here by Peterson. Um, I like the sepia, or not, well, I don't know if it's sepia, but yellow and brown sepia type color tones for the artwork here. Um, just really well done in the monochromatic, but yet still plenty of color differential to create weight and depth in the line art. He shot the wolf in the face with his bow, with his little thorn type arrows, but that just made him mad. And of course, that kills off the moth first, and then the beetle. Basically, everybody but the mouse dies in this thing. So it's kind of a crazy thing, but just really nice artwork overall. Our next book is Norse Mythology, book 2, number 2. Publishers Dark Horse. The writers are Neil Gaiman and P. Craig Russell. Ours is P. Craig Russell with Matt Horak. And the genre is mythology and fantasy. The colors by Laverne Kinzierski, by the way. Again, released July 14th, 2021. And this concludes a two-part story about the mead of poetry, where Odin must trick the giants into giving the mead back to him and return it to the Asgardians. Again, it's the usual quality work from Gaiman, Russell, and company. I don't really need to talk too much about the book. I think people are either into Norse mythology or they aren't. Sadly, I think it's going to be a very highly overlooked book by retailers and readers alike, which is a shame, but it is what it is. Ages 13 and up, recommended 4, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And here's some of the artwork. He had already tricked one of the giants to use a drill cutter to go through the rock for him, and then the giant attacks Odin. Only he doesn't know it's Odin that he's attacking. So he shapeshifts into the snake and gets through the hole to get to where the meat is, and then he shapeshifts again into a giant-looking person, where there is basically a giant warrior maiden guarding the door. Gunlad. And he basically, talks to her, compliments her looks, trying to, schmooze her. And eventually she says, okay, yeah, cool, I'm flattered type thing. And one thing leads to another. He eventually does trick her and gets into the vault and gets the meat out and gets it to the Asgardians. I'm not going to get into all of that, but it is, I guess it might be a little bit more than 13 up. It might be 16 up for this one because there is some sex in it and stuff, but it's done tastefully for what it is. And lastly, this week we have TAARNA number 6 of 6 for $3.99. Publisher is Heavy Metal. Writer is Stephanie Phillips. My art is by Al Barrionuevo. The colors are Brian Valenza and Jessica Colleen. The cover by Christian Ward. Genre is science fiction fantasy. Released July 14th, 2021. And what it's about, well, I hate to say it, but damn if I know. TAARNA beats the army she's been fighting for the last 3-4 issues, but her sidekick Sean helps Urkus free Keiko, the Chaos God. TAARNA in turn kills Urkus, Keiko, and TAARNA battle, and I guess Keiko wins in some way, and the people of the universe begin to worship him. So TAARNA takes Sean to her temple to heal, The end. Epilogue. Sean wakes up floating amongst the universe and asks herself, huh? What am I doing here? What's going on? And I'm thinking, huh? Indeed. What a waste of paper. They even did extra story pages in this book. It's 30 story pages. There's 30 story pages instead of the normal 24. I could have knocked out 5 of the pages that were the extra story pages. Didn't need them. It just was just wasted space. The art by Nuevo is fine for what it is. He does nice artwork. But since the lead character, TAARNA, is now wearing armor and is covered from the neck down, all the fanboys who have been pissing and moaning about it are just going to continue to do that. So nothing about this book is going to be really all that well received, unfortunately. For mature readers only, give it 1.5 stars, and that is not because the art is bad. The art is like a 4. Unfortunately, the story is so bad that it's a negative score, and it just drags it all the way down to a 1.5. I hate saying that, but it's just that bad of a story. It doesn't make any sense. Here's some of the artwork. TAARNA kills Urkus, or so she thinks. He raises himself out. He pulls her sword out of his back, absorbs her power or whatever in some way. That frees the Chaos God. And then there's like 4 or 5 pages after this. There's 4 or 5 pages after this that basically is TAARNA getting on her flying pterodactyl steed and fighting against the Chaos God, who knocks her down to Earth, and she crashes on Earth, and she's all out of it. And Urkus, who's apparently feeling all better now, even though he's been stabbed completely through the chest with the sword, he comes to go kill her. And that takes up like 4 or 5 pages of action. And we cut to the next page I'm going to show you, which is he goes to slaughter her, and Shan basically covers up and takes the hit herself and dies. And he's like, well, I was going to kill her anyways, so who cares what order it is I kill you in? You're going to be dead too. And, the next thing that happens is basically she grabs a sword with her hand in the next page. And stupidly enough, even though she's grabbed the sword with her right hand, she then blasts him. Even though she's holding it, the next panel, she's no longer holding the sword. She just blasts him with energy and destroys him. And I was like, okay, whatever. Just not very well told story in that respect. And then again, like I said, the planetary people start worshiping the Chaos God, and she's like, okay, well, I guess you're not going to respect me, so I'll take my friend Shan to my temple and throw her in the healing waters. And like I said, Shan wakes up in the middle of wandering the cosmos, and her body is floating in the cosmos and says, huh? What's going on? Yeah, so it's like, okay, whatever. So that's pretty much it for this week. There was one more book I wanted to try and get reviewed, but I didn't get done. So I'll review that book on Wednesday when we talk about our what I get from either crowdfunding or the comic shop coming on Wednesday. So, if you guys want to reach me, ask out questions or anything between now and then, we will stop right raving at Facebook. at LewisBrightWave2 on Twitter. I don't really spend a whole lot of time on Twitter. All I really do is just post the link to the show, but you can try it. You can find artwork of mine at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You're watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven on Facebook and on YouTube, and the replay is on YouTube channel, as well as past episodes. You can email me at quoththeravenlbr72@gmail.com with commissions, questions, comments. And if I don't get back to you through that channel, try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. Mondays, comics news and reviews. Wednesdays, what did you get this week? And sometimes I do carryover of comics news and reviews. Thursdays is usually our roundtable talk. I don't have a guest yet this week because I thought I was going to have someone this week. It turns out that they're scheduling their Kickstarter for next month, like a month from now. So is when it's going to launch. So I was like, oh, okay, that changes things. We'll wait until you're ready to launch before we talk. So that's that. And Friday, 9 p.m. will be genre night. This week, we'll be talking about the TV series Pennyworth. That's Alfred Pennyworth, Batman's butler. Before he was Batman's butler, he was a secret agent. I don't know if he was MI6 or British spy agency or whatever. But that's an HBO Max series, I guess, or a Netflix series. And I borrowed the first season on DVD, and I'm going to watch that this week, and we'll talk about that on Friday. Thursday, since my guest I thought I was going to have is not there, Thursday will be an afternoon live draw session probably instead. And I might have a live draw tomorrow on Tuesday as well. We'll see. We'll definitely have live draw on Saturday and Sundays this weekend as well. And I'll usually be in the afternoon. So if you like this video, or you think others might have liked this video, then hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons and to continue to get content from this channel. I thank you all for your support, and I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and we will see you next time. Have a good night, everyone.